This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Sunday, number 6 in the NFL in the books. And time to talk about what we saw. Hi, everyone. Mike Tirico with Tony Dungy, Mike Florio, and Rodney Harrison. Post-game press conferences happen at every game. Folks come up to the podium, answer the questions of the reporters. It was interesting to watch the scene with the 49ers-Rams game because Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the Niners, let Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator, come to the podium. We don't see coordinators, but if we've ever seen one, he deserved to be there, Tony, after the effort the Niners gave in beating the Rams in the Coliseum.
I thought it was very appropriate that 49ers defense was the most impressive unit I saw all day. They went there. This was a showdown game. Okay, we're 4-0, but hey, how good are we? And the Rams are ready for them, defending champions, and they dominated the game. They stuffed them. They had a great game plan. They were all over the whole thing, offense, run game, pass game, I have not seen a dominant performance like that in a long time.
And one thing that you see when you watch them on tape, you just see how physical they are. You look at the offense and running the football and controlling the line of scrimmage, but defensively, especially up front, Mike, they are big. They're big. They got really good athletes. And you look at a guy like Solomon Thomas, who we hadn't really heard his name. Now, all of a sudden, he's coming to the forefront.
Here's what makes it more impressive as well. The 49ers had just played on Monday night. Mm-hmm. The Rams had 4 extra days. They played that prior Thursday. And the Rams were desperate. They're 3-2. They felt like they shouldn't have lost the 2 games they lost. Backs against the wall. And the 49ers do that to them. Kyle better be careful. He's going to need a new defensive coordinator next year if this keeps going the way it is, because Saleh's going to be somebody's...
Wait. Just because you... Wait, let me just say this. Wait. Why every time you get a coordinator who's a good coordinator, now all of a sudden he can become Coach Dungy?
It happens every year. No, the point is, this is the time of year that they're putting the candidate list together, so the best coordinators from the best teams are the guys that are going to make the list, Rodney. That's how it works.
But shutting people down on defense and dominating games, that's not what owners want to see. They want to see scoring and offense.
I heard somebody say that last year, Tony.
But I'm never hiring a defensive coordinator.
Let me say this, though. I talked to John Lynch several times as this whole thing was unfolding, and he had this vision. And he remembered how things got put together in Tampa. And he was looking for guys like himself, fast, tough, physical, very motivated. And they've got a bunch of them on that San Francisco team.
Can I just take the Rams story here for a second? Because I think everyone is surprised that San Francisco is the last of the unbeatens in the NFC, except for the folks in John Lynch's building over there for the 49ers. But now the Rams stacked 3 straight losses in a row. You didn't expect it, didn't see it coming. And the way this loss happened, Rodney, with the offense not being able to generate a lot of points, that has to have the Rams asking some questions internally, sitting at 3-3.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, you look, and they're in trouble because offensively, their offensive line, they're beat up. They have a lot of injuries, so they can't run the ball. They can't do the play-action pass. No one's respecting them down the field. It's just mistake after mistake. And defensively, they can't stop anybody.
I have a feeling the film is going to back this up once it's available on the NFL Game Pass feature. But the idea that Todd Gurley didn't play today, it allows the defense to maybe back off a little bit. That even though he's not a workhorse anymore, the threat of Todd Gurley forced defenses toward the line of scrimmage. Without him, you can take away the Rams' passing game. And Jared Goff was worse than ordinary today.
Well, what took away the Rams' passing game today was that pressure from the front. And Rodney talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Jared Goff is not the same when he can't just sit back there and set his feet. And those guys were all around him today. And he didn't feel like he could hold the ball and let those deep routes come open.
And, Mike, I talked to a few players that played against Todd Gurley, and they're just simply saying that he's no longer that threat. He's just an average back. They believe that when he gets the ball, he's an average back.
I worked the game on radio with Terrell Davis last week in Seattle, and the early drives, it looked like the old Todd Gurley, that energy, that run against Seattle early in the game, but not seeing him in here, you see the absence. And they go to Atlanta and play Cincinnati after that. So the passing game, the offensive line, the whole offense has a couple of weeks to get right and get healthy and get back to a positive mind frame before they go to the back half of the season.
2 cupcake games.
Well, they can get them to 5-3 and get them going. Hey, they're going to need the wins because not only do they have 3 losses, 2 of them to the 2 teams ahead of them in the NFC West in back-to-back games with Seattle and the 49ers.
But, you know, we saw this offense just put up points and look unstoppable. And then they got to the Super Bowl and didn't score. And it hasn't been the same since. This hasn't been this just rolling, free-flowing, all these ideas and everything. Something is missing right now.
full credit to the Niners. It's good to see the Niners back in the mix here.
They
back
made
up,
a statement.
Back up the Monday night game with a good one here, and we'll see a lot more of the Niners in big spots here as we go forward.
The Bay Area teams, 8-2 combined last year for Oakland, right? They count in this as well.
Yeah.
Pretty good. All right, who's got number 2?
I've got question 2, and speaking of concerns, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried about the Dallas Cowboys are you after 3 straight losses? 1 to 10.
Probably a 8 because I had a little confidence in their head coach. I don't have much confidence in their head coach right now at this point in time. But, yeah, their inability to run the football, Dak, I'm not feeling really good about this team.
Yeah, I'm up to a 10 because this is a game after 2 straight losses against the Jets. I'm concerned about the Cowboys right now. Well, I had to go higher than Rodney. I didn't want to go 9 or it would have been obvious.
Thank you.
But really, this
Always
is
work
one of
off the Russian
Let me tell you
judge.
though, this is one of those games that you have to win if you're the Cowboys. If you hope to be the team that we thought they were going to be based on the first 3 weeks of the season, special team, no weaknesses. Remember, we were having all those conversations about how great they are. You play a team that hasn't won. I don't care if it's Sam Darnold or Joe Namath at quarterback. These Jets are not good, and they lost to these Jets. That is very, very alarming.
Yeah, I would say I'm an 8 for a lot of those same reasons. Their offensive line the last month hasn't been able to dominate the line of scrimmage. They haven't run the ball well, and that's hurt Dak's efficiency a little bit. But I'm more concerned about the defense. This is a unit that early in the season looked like they're running all over the place. We're talking about these linebackers, and I haven't seen that energy. I haven't seen them play like a Rod Marinelli defense for a month.
And let's just take a step back. The entire NFC East, nobody's over 500. The entirety of the NFC North is over 500 at this point. We have 2 teams in the NFC West that are over 500, and then the defending champs. So maybe I'm not as concerned. I'll back off to 6, 6.5. They beat Philadelphia. They take the pivot position in their division. They're going to be okay if they get their offensive linemen back. I think plenty of time. So I'll just go a little bit easier.
They can win the East, but are they a good football team right now? Well, that's what I'm concerned
Can they be
about.
healthy and get there at the end and go back to where they were playing the first 3 weeks of the season?
The team we saw today is not going to beat the Eagles. That team won't beat the Eagles. Will a different Cowboys show up next Sunday night? That's the question. But if they play like they did today, they can forget about beating the Eagles.
They'll play with more energy and emotion at home, but like Coach said, I'm still deeply concerned.
So, Mike, I want to bring this point up because every time something happens, it'll be turned into a quick internet video, a GIF or a meme, however you want to call it. So Jason Garrett is there clapping hands and waiting for the defensive guys to come off, and everybody responds because the defensive guys weren't slapping hands back with him and responding to him later on in the fourth quarter. Do you think there's any trouble with Jason Garrett at this point?
Well, here's the thing about Jerry Jones. It doesn't matter what the players think or how they react. Jerry Jones has always been a guy who completely and totally and unconditionally supports you until the moment he no longer does. And you never know when that moment's going to come. We saw it with Wade Phillips. We saw it with Terrell Owens when he was on the team. He's all in, and then he rolls out of bed one day, and he's all out, and that's it. And he knows that he's got to support Jason Garrett because that's the way to get the best out of the team. And if they get embarrassed on Sunday night going into their bye week after, they get embarrassed at home, NBC, 25 million people watching, that's going to give Jerry Jones a little wobble, and it's going to make him think about what he wants to do. Now, I think it would take a lot for him to move on from Jason Garrett during the season, but I just know that that's the way he thinks. He's all in until he's not.
Let them get healthy. Just my opinion. Let them get
They
healthy.
are going to have a good shot.
Everybody's got injuries.
Yeah, it's a lot of teams.
Injuries in their
you got to
winning
deal
games.
with it, Mike. You can't make excuses. At least you can bring energy. Like Coach talked, they had no energy. They had no emotion. This is an opportunity for you to take over first place in your division, and you come with no energy.
I mean, the Patriots' offensive line is a different guy getting plugged in every week, and
That's
yeah,
the Patriot
at some
way.
point. But at some point, you got to deal with the injuries.
The odd part is they have made comebacks the last 2 weeks. Second half against Green Bay, down big, they come back and play with that energy. Down to the Jets, come back and play with that energy. Can they start from that point and play there? That'll be something to watch here next week. Fascinating game Sunday night.
All right, question 3. Through 6 weeks, Russell Wilson is the NFL's MVP. Prove me wrong, Rodney.
I'm not trying to prove you wrong. All I said last week was Christian McCaffrey should be in the MVP conversation. But, yeah, after the way he played today, right now, he's the MVP.
14 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions so far, Coach.
And this is a team, all of the deficiencies are still there. Their defense still gives up big plays. Their offensive line still can't protect. He's moving around, scrambling all the time, making things happen. He's doing it, I don't want to say single-handedly, but he's making these highlight reel plays we kind of expect it now. Oh, he's going to scramble and he'll make something happen. He's been phenomenal.
So we've got the VIP future Hall of Fame guys like Eli Manning not starting anymore, Roethlisberger injured, Rivers, Brady. Then we've got all the young guys who we all sometimes worry about because they take so many hits, but they're so exciting out of the pocket. There's a couple of guys who are in the middle of that pack, and I always look at Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, and because we've seen their skills, they're still mobile, smart, and make so many plays that you never drop on a board or never see on tape in preparation. I feel like we take them for granted sometimes, and they are playing, both of them, terrific football, and Russell's right at the top.
We absolutely do. I mean, we see him make these plays, and it's just like ho-hum. Right. Oh, he scrambled out to his left. He threw this ball to Tyler Lockett right on the goal line. Oh, it's a touchdown.
I talked to Russell after the game, and I said, why is this year so far your best year? And he said, I'm into year 8. It's the preparation year in and year out, week in and week out. He's never missed a game. It's all the practices. It's all the study. It all accumulates. And he said he's at a point now where there's nothing you can show me that is going to surprise me. So whatever the team is, whatever the defense is, he's seen it before, he knows how to operate, and he's got that ability. When everything starts to close in, he just squirts right out of it.
Tony, I want to ask you this about the team as a whole, because they were built around Sherman, the secondary, Cam Chancellor, everybody else, and they've pivoted to build around Russell. How about the receivers that they've put around him and the receiving options that he now has?
I was going to say that these young guys, and that's another thing, they're getting to learn him, but they're talented guys. Metcalf, Lockett, Moore, these guys are going up, making plays. The tight end who got hurt, Disley. You know, those guys are making plays, but they got the right type of people for Russell's ability, and they have changed from a defensive running team to an explosive team.
One point on the Disley injury, I asked Russell what that means to the team, and Russell said, I am very close to this guy. He is an inspiration to me. He gets me to work harder. He busts his butt, and it's going to be hard for them to replace him.
You know, all the draft experts talked about DK Metcalf, and they talked about how big and how stiff he is. This kid can play. I'm surprised that he wasn't a first-rounder, like a top 10 or 15 pick. He's really good.
I was on the field before the game out there a couple of weeks ago, and to see him in person, and you talk about tough to tackle. I mean, that guy is just thick and big in addition to speed. They play Baltimore out in Seattle on Sunday. It'll be a fascinating game to watch. Let's see how the 4-2 Ravens travel out there.
All right, Mr. Florio, more impressed with the Texans or disappointed with the Chiefs?
I think I'm disappointed with the Chiefs. After losing last Sunday night, a game that none of us saw coming, none of us in the Colts let us know that none of us saw it coming. you got to get it together again. And to have that blueprint out there that you mentioned during halftime, Rodney, where Matt Patricia, and I think it even goes back to the AFC Championship game to Bill Belichick. At some point, Andy Reid has got to counter that. And, you know, we've seen this a few times where the Chiefs get off to a great start to the season, and then they hit that pothole and they go deep and deep and deep, and it takes them a while to shrug it off. And I feel like they're starting down that now. So I just think at home, to lose 2 games there 7 days apart against a Texans team that they should be better than, I'm disappointed in the Chiefs.
Let me read you some stats, okay? Forget about blueprints and all that. They got 24 points today, okay? They didn't have the ball. Their defense was on the field for 83 plays. They gave up 35 first downs, 192 yards rushing. Deshaun Watson was 30 out of 42, almost 75%. The teams are throwing for 75% completions. You're giving up 6 yards a carry. You're giving up 30, 35 first downs a game. You can't win like that. That defense is a problem.
Yeah, and what they're trying to do, Andy Reid, he wants to outscore everyone. But what happens in that 1 or 2 occasions during the season where your offense struggles? Then you can't stop anyone. But I think I was more impressed with the Texans to go on the road in that hostile environment, which we both played in. It's one of the loudest stadiums I've ever played in. And for Deshaun Watson to outplay Patrick Mahomes, even though he was a little hobbled, we saw that. I thought that I was really more impressed with that.
Mahomes needs a bye week badly to let that ankle heal, because once that gets banged up, he's a different guy.
But the problem he's going to have, and I've seen it with a lot of quarterbacks, when you start to think we can't punt, I've got to make something happen on every play. Now, he is going to hold the ball and try to make something. They went 3 and out twice in the second half and never got the ball back.
That's right, in the fourth quarter especially. They've got 5 more weeks to their bye week, Kansas City, so it's going to load up on them.
And what's going on with Travis Kelce, too?
You know, people taking him away, is that part of that blueprint?
Yeah, a lot of man-to-man coverage, and you get those tight windows, and you challenge him. You don't give Patrick Mahomes an opportunity to kind of run around and find those little soft openings in the zone. Yep.
full credit to Houston, too, for being that team to try to separate in the AFC South. Indianapolis went in the week before. So both of those teams that went into Arrowhead and won play Sunday.
Big game Sunday.
Is that game in Indy? That's in Indy.
And this last point, one thing about playing against, like, you guys, when we played with all those weapons, it was an intimidation factor. And even though we would compete and we know, we beat you a few times, we were still, like, really nervous. No one's nervous of Kansas City anymore. That intimidation factor is gone with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
Yeah, because teams are coming in there manning them up. It doesn't matter.
And you say, okay, you guys got us for 35 points, but we're going to get 40.
Yep.
So, it's not like we can't win. We've just got to make a play on defense.
Would you ever be afraid to take your offense into Kansas City against that defense?
No.
Never.
Kansas City goes to Denver. Denver, which came close to winning 2 games and didn't. They lost on the very last play of the game at home. They've now won back-to-back games. Their defense is starting to come around with Vic Fangio.
Mahomes is not
doing
mobile.
okay.
If he's not 100% mobile, that rush is going to be a factor.
He's a totally different offense.
On a short week, Tony, too, on Thursday in Denver. So that'll be fun to watch. Speed round time. Sam Darnold's presence. Other than... Oh, we get music for the speed round. Let's keep you guys going. Other than bringing Jets fans out of the woodwork, Sam Darnold's presence is blank.
It's energizing to the team.
Inspirational.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that it's encouraging, right? Because he's picking up where he left off in week 1.
And they believe in him, and they know that he can throw the ball and make some plays.
Sam Darnold's presence is proof that if you got a quarterback,
You got a chance.
you got a chance. Who's on his current team next year? Jameis, still a Buck? Mariota, still a Titan? Both or neither?
Neither.
I think neither.
I think neither. I mean, Mariota got benched today, so end of the year, it's done for him. Jameis has a chance to save himself, but based on what I saw today, he's not going to.
Fascinating mix of Jameis, who's been too aggressive, Bruce Arians, who likes to be aggressive, and the mistakes piled up there in London. It was tough to watch. The music is really keeping the pace going. It's not the greatest song you've ever picked, but other than that, it's fine. Are you back on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon? Well, Florio's never been off the Kirk Cousins bandwagon.
Well, he has, because I sit right next to him, and he says
really?
a lot of bad things about Kirk Cousins.
I don't say bad things to
I'm not going to say it on air, though.
Well, Rodney, you've led the Kirk Cousins bandwagon for the group, so are you fully on the bandwagon now?
Mike, he came out and he talked about playing with the edge. He plays better with an edge, and that's what he's done in the previous years. And I saw it today, being a lot more aggressive and taking charge, being the leader of that offense.
Kirk Cousins is going to play great if they can run the ball and they can protect. When that offensive line plays well, he's going to put up great numbers. He's got great wide receivers. They've got a great back. The problem is when you play a team like the Bears and you can't do that, then what happens? But Kirk Cousins is going to have a lot of games like this.
He's just setting us up. I mean, that's the thing. He will give us false hope that there is going to be a great performance in a key game. They've got some big games coming up. They go to Detroit this week, which is far different than it used to be for teams that come in. Then they get the short week against Washington in primetime, and then it's at Kansas City, at Dallas. We're going to learn a lot about Kirk Cousins over the next 4 games.
It was almost like your parents' classical radio station was on for a brief moment. Now we finally found music from this generation. What are you guys doing in audio? Last speed round question. This is at least listenable music. Are the Browns toast at this point? They've only have 2 wins.
No, they're not toast. The Browns are who Denny Green would say we thought they are, okay? They're very talented. They're very young. They're going to be up and down. They have some good moments. They're just not consistent, and they're going to have to learn.
I think it's going to just take time, time. When you have all this talent, bringing them together, you have a new head coach, it's going to take time to kind of gel and bring that chemistry together.
They got some tough games for the next few weeks. The schedule gets a lot softer after week 10. I don't want to say the Steelers is going to be an easy out, but the Steelers twice, the Bengals twice. They got some games they should be able to win, and they have that game in hand. They won at Baltimore, so all they got to do is pull even and they win the division.
Who's going to run away with the AFC North? Nobody. Baltimore is not going to go 13-3, so they'll have a chance.
We saw Pittsburgh show a life on Sunday night against the Chargers as they came with a third-string quarterback and took a big halftime lead. Well, forget the music selection for a second. I want to talk mustaches as we wrap up. Have you ever had a mustache, Florio?
Those records are sealed.
Those records are sealed. Rodney and Tony do. I once did. But we put this up on a poll. Gardner Minshew or Cameron Jordan? Whose stash is superior?
See, that's a fake Minshew mustache.
You think
so he's got
there's
some
a better
better
one?
ones than
Right.
that. Yeah, but that picture, I would have to go with Cam.
Well, NBC Sports can project Cam Jordan, the winner of the mustache poll. As Rodney votes for that or looks for Florio's mustache.
There's no mustache there.
He looks like a weasel.
Look like a weasel all the time.
Well, this is fine.
Come on, camera. All these
Thanks.
expensive
Thanks.
cameras.
Yeah.
Hopefully you are enjoying this.
Thanks.
He has no gray either.
It was like 12 years ago.
For
We
those
age.
Of you, for
Guess
those
what?
Of you
We
listening
age.
to
You have
this,
too.
For those of you listening to the podcast version of this, we've gone to the absolute bottom of American television. And at this point, we'll say the salmon was good, the meal was fabulous. Come back for more of this next week. We thank you for watching or listening. And please select your own music next time.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.